Cinema, Frame and Action. Okay. I request Sri Adoor Gopalakrishnan to have a few words on the book.
It's a very special occasion when both Mr. M.A. Baby and myself have been asked to release this book by our good friend Pradeep Biswas. Pradeep Biswas was a very close associate of Manalda. We call him only Manalda, not Manal Sen. So every week or so I used to get news from him about Manalda's health. Because a few months before his demise, I happened to be going to Calcutta. Then with my friend Pradeep, I went to see him, and we spent a lot of time talking. And in spite of his poor health, he was very enthusiastic to hear about what was happening in cinema elsewhere in Kerala and all that. So it was for a very long time, Manalda never grew old. We used to wonder, what is the secret of your youth? We used to ask him. So he would only laugh. But when you think about a filmmaker, normally filmmakers don't talk too much. But Manalda was all the time talking. So one of those early days when I went to Calcutta, we were traveling through West Bengal. West Bengal, as you proceed in the interior, in the villages, wherever you find a pond, you will find people fishing. So finally, when this kept on repeating this visual of all the Bengalis catching fish. Fish is an obsession with Bengali. We also like fish, but it's not an obsession. Even when you wish to confirm that you are, when you decide on a marriage, the bridegroom's party goes to see to the bride's house, carrying a big fish. That fish, for Bengali, fish is a vegetable. It's a vegetable. It's a produce of the sea. That's how they see it.
Especially Hilsha.
Hilsa, they will die for it. They will die for it. A Bengali will die for it. So that is ultimate. It's not even like our Caribbean. Caribbean is full of thorns, bones. But Hilsa is not like that. It is filled with bones. Very fine bones. So, but all the same, it is considered very delicious, and every Bengali would long for a Hilsa fish. The story is that even Vivekananda, the day he died, he had a sumptuous lunch with Hilsa. After that, he went to his room and then he died. So you cannot separate Bengali from the legacy of the fish. So when I went, after all this long trip through the villages, I went to Calcutta. Then I told Manalda, I know what Bengalis do. When they are not fishing, they are talking. Either of this. So Manalda gave a big laugh, and we all enjoyed it. And he used to joke, those jokes were so unforgettable. My daughter, when she was chosen for the IPS, and then first posting was to Assam. So we were going through Calcutta. Then I told my daughter, we will go and see Manalda. So we went and met him at his house. Then I told him, Manalda, she is now joined IPS. He is going to be an officer with the police. Then he said, let us go and raid Buddhu. Buddhadev is supposed to make a lot of money in those days. he was particularly known for being very successful. So he said, let us go and raid Buddha. That kind of jokes, very instinctively it comes. So for a long time, Mrinalda remained the youngest among us. Although he is almost a generation before us, before me. I used to send him emails, Mrinalda, you are Chela. That I used to sign, Chela, you are Chela. And yeah. And Mrinalda he was in every sense, he was my elder brother. My elder brother, not more than a guru. In Guru's place, I will keep Ray or Kata. Kata was actual Guru. Ray was the what do you call imaginary Guru. Mrinalda was elder brother. He used to see even Didi, his wife, Gita Di. She used to say, we are family. That was so hearty. So I was a part of that house, part of the whole thing. His son, he has been working in Chicago, Kunal. So when there was a retrospective of my films in the Chicago University, both Kunal and his wife used to come every day. Every day he used to come and see the films. But I did not know that every day after seeing the film, he used to telephone his father and mother. Particularly father, he used to say, talk about the film that he saw. So he was his father's son, because very, very much interested in arts, cinema particularly. Although he had nothing to do with, in his personal life, he had nothing to do with cinema. So this book. This book of my friend Pradeep Vishwas, it is dedicated to M.A. Baby, and I've seen it in the book. And also, Mrinalda used to like Mr. Baby a lot, and I have heard from Baby that Mr. Baby that every time he went to Calcutta, again through Pradeep, he used to go and meet Mrinalda although he died a little, having lived a long life and a very fruitful and very respectable life he lived, but then we all feel the real vacuum left by his absence amongst us. And he was part of Kerala society, in fact. And the people here loved him, respected him and loved him. And I don't remember the number of visits he made to Kerala, and particularly our own festival.
The first
Yes.
award
Yes.
for the lifetime achievement.
Yes. The first lifetime achievement achievement award was given to him. Yes. That first award was given to Mrinalda. So Mrinalda was our own filmmaker in this country. And very rightly, Pradeep, who knew him very personally, who was also a favorite of Mrinalda, and he has taken pains to write this fairly voluminous book on Mrinalda. I hope those who wish to study about Mrinalda and his work, this book will prove useful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable words. Next, Sri M.A. Baby will be having a few words. The seminar panelists are waiting for the session.
I don't want to say anything. Our most respected Adoorji has already spoken what needs to be spoken about this. I would only like to announce that this book, which has 296 pages, which gives a comprehensive assessment about the contribution of Mrinalda for the world of film, as well as the iconoclast in Mrinalda. Those who would like to have a copy of this book, it is available here. I am only announcing that with 25% discount. Because Sri Adoor released the book, this 25% discount is available during the festival. It is there there is a bus converted into a bookshop by the Kerala State Government's Cultural Department. If you buy it today or tomorrow, perhaps you would get the sign of Sri Pradeep also. Thank you very much for making this book release a success.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. The next book release is Cinema, Frame and Action by M. Chandra Prakash. പുസ്തക പ്രകാശനം നിർവഹിക്കുന്നത് ശ്രീ വി കെ ജോസഫ്, സ്വീകരിക്കുന്നത് ശ്രീ ജി പി രാമചന്ദ്രൻ, ഗ്രന്ഥകർത്താവ് ശ്രീ എം ചന്ദ്രപ്രകാശിനെയും സ്റ്റേജിലേക്ക് ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു. Cinema, Frame and Action by M. Chandra Prakash. Released by Sri V. K. Joseph and received by Sri G. P. Ramachandran. By M. Chandra Prakash. Thank you one and all. There is one more book release. Edo Janma Kalpanayil. Written by Dr. M. D. Manoj. Published by Olive Books, which will be released by Sri Kamal and will be received by Sri Priyanandan. Edo Janma Kalpanayil. Dr. M. D. Manojinde Edo Janma Kalpanayil. Olive Books ന്റെ പ്രസാധനം ശ്രീ കമൽ പ്രിയന്തരൻ നൽകി നിർവഹിക്കുന്നു. Thank you one and all. Next we are moving into the Fipresky seminar on film criticism in the new age. Let me call upon Sri Premendra Majumdar, General Secretary Fipresky, to manage the session. Welcome, sir.
Hello, thank you very much. Now, the session for the Fipresky seminar. Fipresky India is organizing a seminar here today. The subject is the film criticism in the new age. So, I am inviting our president, Mr. V. K. Joseph, who will chair the session today, to come on the dais. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Shiladitya Sen, who will be moderating this session. He is from Calcutta. Please come. Then I would like to invite Dr. Etami Borian. She is from Zagreb, Croatia. She will be speaking on this session. And then Ms. Sadia Khalid Riti from Dhaka, Bangladesh. And Mr. Nahum Mohiach from Israel, Tel Aviv. Dr. Madhu Eravankara is a well-known critic from Trivandrum itself. And Mr. G. P. Ramchandran, the office bearer of Fipresky India, to talk. Our subject is film criticism in the new age. Basically, we are focusing on the new media. I will first ask our chairman, Mr. V. K. Joseph, to speak, just to introduce the seminar. Then it will be transferred to the moderator to speak. Before that, I would like to request Mr. Joseph to release the Cine India. Cine India is the print publication of Fipresky India. This is a serious film journal being brought by the Fipresky India chapter. Fipresky is an international organization. We have already the online version of eCine India, quarterly film journal, and this is the print version. Cine India to publish it, officially to release it in the IFFK. And he will just hand over to Etami, please. He will give it to you. Yeah.
This edition is available in the FFSA stall. Its price is 200. We are selling here for 100. Please purchase it.
So friends, Uh, Today, Pipersky is discussing about a film criticism in the new age. So, about Pipersky activity on the seminars and conferences, it has been organized in some festivals. That will be explained by Pramendra. In Goa also we had a discussion about the film criticism. So we are exploring some area of the film critics. Are they addressing the right questions of a film narrative or film techniques, or its excellence, or in the aesthetic sense, or it's a socio-political content, and how we are evaluating the cinema. That kind of discussions are going on now. Whether these film critics are changing their attitude to the film. The films genre is changing. Many kind of films are coming now. So a lot of narrative structure is changing. Film construction is changing. So all kind of changes are coming. So whether this the so-called film critics are following it, or they also are changing according to the time and the new film aesthetics and all. That's the main question now we are raising everywhere. So today we have a discussion on how the film criticism is in the new age. Because in the social media, without any editor, without editor's permission, you have a freedom to write on cinema. So but while using that freedom, the question is whether you have studied about cinema, whether what is your approach, whether it is serious, or you are you simply writing since you have a space there. So the serious writings are also coming in the social media, and the film critics itself is changing. New approaches, new cultural readings, new political readings, new psychological readings. That all history and everything is coming. So that issue we are going to discuss it. I am not going much. So I invite Sheila Adityasan, our Pipersky Executive Committee member and a very senior film critic from Bengal, and I invite him to moderate it.
So, I don't have to talk. We have so many important critics with us. I am just introducing them first. Nakhum Makhiak from Israel. Etami Burian from Croatia. C.S. Venkatesan, no, it is not come. Modhu Eravankara from Kerala, and Sadia Khalid Riti from Bangladesh, and G.P. Ramchandran from Kerala, and we have with us V.K. Joseph, chairman of our Pipersky, and the General Secretary Premendra Mujumdar. So in audience we have the respectable Pradeep Bishash also. So there is a two session, I think so. So first, I will invite every speaker to say something on that issue, what our respectable Mr. B.K. Joseph already told about the topic. And then there is an interactive session, if we have time. So I request every speaker, my humble request, to finish it within 5 to 7 minutes, first round, and because of the interactive session will be there. And please, everybody is free to say everything, but please connect, you should be connected with the topic. That's all. And we know very much that the social media is nowadays capturing our personal life, social life, professional life, political life, everything. And we are making our opinion by the help of it, and we are getting others' opinion by the help of it. So, Twitter, Facebook, blog, everything. And anybody now can write anything about film. But is it good or bad or nothing? This has to be thinkable now. And we are discussing on that topic, how we would have been accommodative of this infiltration of social media in our life, and how we, all film critics, how we can make these things constructive. So first, I invite Nakhum Makiak from Israel.
Good evening, good afternoon. Our topic is the new age and the film critic. This topic could be examined from so many angles. Let me try with one, and I see if the time allows me to elaborate to another subject. 2 months from today, actually 2 months from yesterday, there will be this 92nd Oscar ceremony held in Hollywood. And if we remember, last year, there was a film, very important film by the name of Rome by Mexican director Alfonso Cuarón, who was the first one of Netflix that entered the competition. And he didn't win the best movie award, although he was nominated, but he won the foreign language title. And now, why am I sticking to that movie? Because today, this year, we might have three films of Netflix that will be nominated for sure. I mean, this is my assessment, but I'm quite sure that this is what is going to happen. And I'm talking about, of course, The Irishman of Martin Scorsese with Robert De Niro, you know, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Joe Pesci, and many others. And I'm talking about Marriage Life, a film by Noah Baumbach with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. And of course, I'm talking about The Two Pops with, by Brazilian director Antonio Meirelles and with Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce. If one of them wins, or maybe he gets to the final stages of a nomination, that might create a new situation, that films that are being made for television are the films that first in the first row. I mean, maybe the whole thing of the way we look at films will be changed dramatically. And it doesn't matter if the budget is big or low budget. It doesn't make any difference about the production value of the film. These are films that are made for television, and we, film critics, can find ourselves writing about movies that are originally making for television, even though it has a window of 2 or 3 weeks being shown in the theaters around the world. And I think, in my opinion, I mean, we have to raise our voice as a film critic community. We can support this what is going on. We can be against it, but still, this is something to take into consideration. What's going on in the movie business? It started with Netflix and Amazon Prime, and now there is also Hulu and HBO and Walt Disney with its enormous catalog. So what we are seeing, what we are witnessing is that the whole culture of films might be moving from the theaters to our homes. We see home movies. All the movies will be screened at home at our television set, and that's the way we will see films. And well, this is one thing. The other thing, if the time allows me, I don't know. This is what happened in the 90s. In the 90s, there was a revolution of the network, of course, and this thing that you spoke about it already, and that let's say the old school critics found ourselves in a new position. All of a sudden, someone gave us feedbacks. Someone through the social networks, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Twitter, whether it is even every blogger became one who has an opinion of films. I don't call him a film critic, but you know, he might be a film critic. There's no, I have nothing against it. I think we have to embrace this phenomena because you know. We don't have the prestige to be alone in that field, I think. And everybody who has an opinion about film can, even though he is not have the education or he learned everything about this, this is a good thing that happened, in my opinion.
Okay, I would request now Itami Borian from Croatia.
Hello, thank you for coming. And actually, I'm here with the film critics, but I will be speaking as a film scholar. And I will be speaking mainly about the change that the new media, online platforms, and social media have brought into academic world, into academic publishing. So your question might be, why am I addressing this issue? And I'm addressing this issue especially because I think it's important to know who are film critics who are writing their opinions about cinema, because I think that film criticism is not just about the personal opinion. So of course, since we all have internet, we all have different platforms and we are using social media, so that doesn't mean that everybody who writes his or her opinion on a movie is a film critic. And I would also like to maybe follow up on what Joseph has mentioned, that now there are different readings on cinema, different ways of interpreting cinema, and a lot of these ways are also related to the theories and changes in film history and in film theory, like psychoanalytical reading, gender studies, and cinema. And what I think it's very important for the new media, especially for online platforms, is that they made accessible the publications, and I'm talking about, for example, scholarly film articles, academic film essays. They made them acceptable to wide audience. And I think that's important for film critics, because if you want to write something about a movie, I think you should not rely only on your personal opinion. And I think that it's also important to do some research, at least a basic research on what has been published on that movie, or at least to have some idea of what has been written on the topic. And that's why I think that film scholars are very important. Although I know I've heard it often that some articles published by film scholars are usually perceived as maybe too difficult or too theoretical, and people wonder what's the use of it, because maybe not everybody find it easy to read. But I think it's important, because especially these articles are actually, they have influenced a lot of film critics, and maybe they have given them new ideas to read or to interpret films in a new way. That's why I think that the platforms, online platforms for open access journals are very important. Unfortunately, in Western Europe and in the West in general, there is a very low percentage of open access journals where you can access the articles on cinema for free, especially because the publishers, and of course they have to earn money, so you have to subscribe to certain journals. But for example, in Latin America, this percentage is very high. So I've heard that, let's say, about 80% of the journals are open access journals, and they are so the articles and the writings, scholarly academic writings, and all are also accessible to wide audience thanks to this type of platform. And I think this is important also for the democratization of and dissemination of knowledge in general. And but as I say, unfortunately, the politics of in Europe and Western countries is quite different from the rest of the world. Regarding social media, I think they have helped a lot film scholars also to distribute their own work, because film scholars sometimes that community can be very closed in a way that it's a small community and people exchange ideas. Mainly at conferences, but then it's not always accessible to wide audience, and that's something that I think that it should be, knowledge should be accessible to wide audience. So that's why social media are very important, because people can put their own articles, their own writings, things that they are doing, and they can share them with the wide community, especially if they, of course, belong to different groups on Facebook, or if they're using different types of social media. And I think that film festivals are also important for this type of activities, especially forums like this, round tables, discussions, because film festivals are not just about seeing movies. Film festivals are made also for creating the audience. And when I say creating the audience, I mean that you, in a way, educate the audience with the film festival, because you create your own audience. You can change their taste. You can the selection of the movies, the program can also influence their taste and the way they're seeing movies. But also the discussions and the round tables with film critics, with the directors, with film scholars, are also important, because they raise awareness of the cinema, of the social impact that the cinema has in the community, but also it gives the opportunity to people to see different points of view and different ways of interpreting the cinema. And since we don't have much time, I would stop here, but if there are some questions, we can discuss it later. Thank you.
Thank you, Etami. Very good indeed in your speech. You are correctly connected the film criticism to the film studies, the film market, the festivals, all the things. And thank you, thanks to Nakum also. And we are now going to listen two speakers. One is Madhu Eravankara and Sadia Khalid Ridi. And they are the teacher also from film studies. The first I would request, I invite Madhu.
Good evening, everybody. In fact, FIPRASI is doing a wonderful job to introduce film criticism as well as the activities of FIPRASI in the film festivals. And this is the second time in this year we are having this particular type of seminar. There is a casual saying in film circle that every second person you meet is a filmmaker and every third person you meet is a film critic. So this casual comment actually reads a lot. It talks a lot. I'm not talking about filmmaking because we have other arena to discuss it. When I'm talking about film criticism, first of all, as I'm telling every time, we have to define what is film criticism exactly. Then only we may be able to differentiate between the terms. There are so many terms prevalent among film critics or writers on films. Like, for example, you say film criticism, film appreciation, film review, film studies, and simply film view. And you talk about social media. In social media, everybody is supposed to be a film critic, but I don't like to call them film critics. They are simply film views. They are all the writings are film views. It's all their personal views. Sometimes they may like the film, or sometimes they may not like the film. So whatever they see after the film, the first impression is recorded in the form of a few words. So we can't say it's a film criticism. And there are film reviews in the newspaper and in the magazines. I think most of the film reviews, we mistake it as film criticism. Actually, they are all film reviews. And in this particular juncture, we have to redefine film criticism, because there are so many ways of expressing views about films, and these should be differentiated. That is what I mean to say for the first time. Okay, film criticism, whether it is in the old age or new age, it is same. But the approach to film criticism may be different, because the films are different nowadays. So many new genres are coming. Whenever new genres are coming, you have to interpret those films in new terms. So the old tools of film criticism may not be sufficient to explain these new trends in the filmmaking. So we have to equip with, you have to be equipped with new tools, and that the film critic should be aware of. So he should be equipped with the new tools, which he may be able to discuss the new films and explain the new films or interpret the new films. So that is the second point I want to make it. And the third point is, you know, if you appreciate a film, then only you can be a film critic. See, in the lower stage there is film view, and then in the second stage you have film review. In the third stage you have film appreciation, and the fourth stage is the film criticism. Of course, there is another stage called film studies. It comprises all the areas of film. Maybe it goes with the history, maybe it goes with the theory, or maybe with the making. You know, it comprises so many things. But when we talk about exactly film criticism, one, you know, as I have told you earlier, whether it is in the previous times or in the new times, a film critic should be highly equipped with all the technological advancements, all the theories that pertaining to the new type of films, the social strata where what the film is talking about, and the political conditions, because every film, every third film, if you find 3 films, the third film is a political. So the political connotation should be dealt with, to be understood carefully. So all this is very necessary for a film critic to analyze the film and interpret his work in a better way. But unfortunately, we should say that the so-called film critics are not doing this sort of things. And the readers are not interested in film criticism, because it takes time. It takes time to assimilate what the film critic is exactly saying. That is always a problem. Even, you know, our publications, they do not have the spaces for the film critic. They have spaces for the film reviews, maybe paid reviews. Almost 80% of the reviews that you read in the newspaper or magazines are paid reviews. And they are mainly meant for a particular film, or meant for particular media, or meant for a particular periodical. So I don't mind whether you read it or not. Of course, we can read a film review, we can read film appreciations, criticism, and also the views in the social media. Whatever you read, it is not the final word. That is what I just wanted to remind you. The final word should be within you. And to support the final word, that should be the purpose of a film critic. And most of the film critics, the so-called film critics, are not doing their work. That is why in the beginning I was just making a prerogative that whether there is a film criticism exactly existing in the new age. The answer will be a negative, a big zero, a big negative. Because the so-called film critics are not trying. They are just satisfying the audience, maybe in one way or other. But these things should be stopped, and film critic, whether it is in the previous age or in the new age, he has a stand. He has to interpret the film. Of course, the new way, I understand. And the new way should be accepted. It should be accepted, and it should be made acceptable to the readers. And Suppose some magazines and some serious magazines are ready to publish film criticism. There are a lot of film critics in the real sense who wish to write about cinema and who wish to interpret about cinema and who wish to write all aspects of cinema. And maybe in the next round I should say something more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhu. Sadia Khalid, please.
Hi. I would like to address this issue from the perspective of my country. So the topic we're talking about is film criticism in new media, in the time of new media. So what's happening in Bangladesh is that we are one of those countries who has one of the highest percentage of Facebook users. And film criticism has become very much Facebook based, and everyone feels that they're entitled to be a film critic. Everyone is questioning what is the point of having a profession of film critic. And they think that in a country that is burdened with so many problems like poverty and refugee crisis and everything, they think that having a separate profession for film critics is not really necessary, and that we're some privileged people who are just doing what they love to do. So people like to take it in their own hands and just write whatever they feel about any movie. And they really, most people don't really know what they're trying to write about. Mostly these film criticisms in Facebook by regular people is that mostly it's in Bangladesh, it's either a pat in the back to the director, maybe you know the director, that's why you want to please him. Or maybe it's a show of aggression that you really don't like this director and you want this film to flop. So these are the two kinds of ways that the Facebook criticism goes. And another big issue we're facing with Facebook taking over the film criticism sphere is that if you criticize a film by a producer or director that is very, very powerful and that person really can't take criticism, we have, I'm an editor of a daily newspaper and I run an entertainment page, and we very regularly publish film critics, and we face this problem very often, that if the producer or the director isn't happy with what we wrote, they would probably do a smear campaign against the writer. And we've been facing this, and it's a very big issue, the smear campaigns. Like, they try to prove that you're not qualified to write this, and whatever you wrote is not logical. And they won't really counter you with logic. What they will do is counter you with aggression. So that's a big problem with film criticism in this age. So that's the part that we're facing in Bangladesh that I really wanted to share. And I would really like to know if we're having the same problem in India.
Okay. So, Premendrada? No, not. So, we are going to GP Ramchandran, we are going to listen to him. Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Lot of areas have been already covered. So I will, as of my opinion, film review, criticism and studies are different type of expressions. These three, basically. But on some occasions, they are merged into one. My opinion is that criticism is the most creative one among it. Yatami might differ. Film criticism is imagination, political sensibility, historic journey, narrative and structural experience. What else? In that time, but academic studies using jargons and lot of quotations are sometimes useful, sometimes it is useless. Institutions and universities are promoting these types of studies. Lot of jargons and lot of quotations, lot of bibliography. Lot of research papers are coming, but who all are reading and appreciating these, we don't know. Another problem, the media, whether it is print or electronic, are not providing sufficient or prominent spaces for film criticism due to the pressure from the power players, I think. The main problem we are experiencing, a real, true and independent film critic faces in this age is the play of the power. The filmmaker, the production houses, government itself, viewers, everybody are against a film critic. They use abusive language and initiate police and court cases against us. Even yesterday, one of my friends in Trivandrum is under threat from a director whose film released last week. So I think a more democratic and open space we need for film criticism, and because film studies are inclined to a four walls or inside the academic area, but film criticism is open to all. But there is not an open and democratic spaces that exists in our country or our space. I think there is no such a space. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramchandran. It's a very, very good point we have made through the speakers. And one point is already those who are the speakers, they delivered their speeches, and already it has been going to be controversial, because just now Itami told about the democratization of knowledge, and Madhu told that social media and that appreciation and film criticism, it comes to the end a big zero. So would you like to say something about the democratization of knowledge?
Well, I do agree with you at some point that film criticism is definitely a free way of expressing your opinion, in the way that scholarly publications do have to follow certain rules. And these rules apply to the forms, the citations, the bibliography, and the research that actually behind every paper. So in a way that when you write as a film scholar, what is expected from you is not so much to give your own opinion, in the way, not to give an emotional response to the movie, but to give a theoretical explanation. And that's why the citations, the quotations, bibliography, it's necessary, because it's expected, if you're a film scholar, that you have done some kind of research, and that you're interpreting a film using a lot of theoretical background. So in that way, I agree that film criticism doesn't have such a, let's say, a determined structure when we talk about texts. So, and you have more freedom to express your personal opinions, and do not have to talk so much about the theory. But I do think that film studies are very important for film critics as well, because, as I said, film criticism shouldn't be only about expressing your own personal opinion, because then everybody could write their personal opinion about any movie. But can we say that everybody who writes about a movie is a film critic? So that's why I think that it's important to have some kind of background. When it comes to the democratization of knowledge, I think that the new platforms, online platforms that have been created for the free access to the academic research journals are very important, because you have a directory of open access journals for humanities or for different kind of disciplines. And among these disciplines is film studies. So when you say that film scholars, yes, we do publish articles, research articles, but if you have online platforms where these articles are available, I think this can be useful for researchers, for film students, for film scholars, for film critics, for directors as well. So that's why I think that these online platforms are very important, because they make academic work, scientific work, accessible to wide audience.
Thank you, Itami. I think GPR and Madhu, they will tell again on that issue. But before that, I will hand over the microphone to our president, Mr. VK Joseph, and I would like to request Mr. Premendra Majumdar and our eminent and senior most film critic Pradeep Biswas to talk about this. So please.
No, I think we don't have enough time. but our eminent film critic and scholar who wrote up so many books, Mr. Pradeep Mishra is also there. But because of the time limit, we can't have much deliberation time with there. But I thank him for his book and his presence here. And Mr. Premendra will talk about our Fipreski and some bit of, its activities and all for some time. After that, we'll have a question and answer session.
Your proposal is good, but we don't have enough time to do all this deliberation, repeating, because we have to open the floor for a few questions. Basically, we are holding this type of national and international seminars on film criticism in different festivals. Just 2 weeks back, we hold a similar type of festival in IFFI, Goa. Before that, in Bangalore International Film Festivals everywhere. Just to introspect the status of film criticism prevailing in India just at present. And this year, we have taken this issue. This new age means we wanted to mean that this new media, that means the social media, which is very, very important now, how it plays the role, how it affects or influences a film to be acclaimed or to be successful, whatever it may be. So this was just the first session. We will take forward this discussion again, and we are holding a mentoring workshop in Calicut University just next week. And people of Kerala, the film enthusiasts of Kerala has been invited to be there to participate that. This issue will be explained there in details. So in today's forum is not sufficient. We don't have the sufficient time to analyze this. So I will request the moderator better to open the floor for questions. Shiladitya.
Okay. Now we invite all of you to interact something with the speakers. And you, please, my humble request, please, you must be precise in your question, not statement. You.
This is to the second person on democratization of knowledge. To what extent online open journals help in your country in the genre of film criticism? To what extent, as researchers, film criticism can attain the pinnacles of creative writing with the help of open access journals? How far it is helpful?
Okay. Well, I'm talking about my country and Europe as well, because in Europe there are online platforms that are actually for open air journals from all over the world, so not just European journals. But unfortunately in Europe and in the States and in Canada, knowledge costs. So you have to pay for the knowledge. So the percentage, unfortunately, the percentage of open access journals in Europe and in the West is very low. It's like 12 or 13%. But in other countries like Latin America, it's almost 80%. So there, it actually contributes a lot. Because if you, and I think open access journals are very important in the developing countries where not everybody has a chance to afford education. Not everybody can do master or PhD in film studies, but they are interested in cinema. So in developing countries, I think it is very important to have this type of platforms where you can get access for free to academic journals or to academic articles. As I said, unfortunately in the West, the knowledge costs. So this type of democratization of knowledge is not always welcome because of money and capitalism and, as you know, everything else.
Hello, Pradeep Da will.
Thank you. I think in the discourse, I use the word discourse. Hello. Instead of criticism, because you see new age in criticism. Every decade is a new age in criticism. But why now a criticism? It has turned into a discourse because the postmodernism has opened up to structuralism right now. The institutes now where the students learn the film studies, there were different kind of networking. But about the social media, which is a plural number, I say medium. Particularly I say that mainstream journals, mainstream dailies are still in the medieval century. I for one belong to the Indian Express, someone belongs to Anand Bazaar, someone belongs to Telegraph, someone belongs to Times of India, someone belongs to Hindu. You know, here scope is very limited. I think the right note is struck by Madhu Erabankara and Sajida, that the scope for the right kind of interpretation of the film, which gives you an opening, a window to understand not only the vocabulary or the technicality of the film, that is very much absent. In the mainstream dailies, it is not expected. If I write a big article, well, say Angelo Paulus, that will go. But if I take a single, say, director, I'm the Indian filmmaker, his film, it will not be given that space, provided it is not a commercial one. If it is a commercial one, because the editor reaps revenues from that advertisement. So you are scripted, you know, you are conscripted in between. For example, I tell you, David Robinson of The Guardian lost his job because in his time, in the 80s, he put forth a review or a discourse of other kind of film at the first, and the second came the commercial cinema. So editor immediately called him and snacked him, just sacked him. And Derek Melgan took over. Derek has the same kind of thing, but he continued. He said that it is unfortunate to run our film reviews or film criticism, what you call, is really unfortunate state, and it cannot be done. To be very frank, you just within, say, 1,000 or 1,200 words, you have to finish the review. It's not possible. It's not, what requires interpretation. What Madhu says, the interpretation is missing. But Sajida says interpretation is missing. Provided she does it, the editor will be called by the producer and say they were not giving the ads. The revenues will be losing. So, you see, media are a very terrible thing, I tell you, and media do not open very much to the public. And it does not, and the media do not, in fact, create particular readers to turn him into film buffs, good film lovers, good film critics. No, in no country. Rather, I would say, in Europe, the variety, the sight and sound, sight has gone down. It's not Cine Europa, Guardian, still running the show, and that's of the other kind of cinema. You see, the best kind of cinemas are being taken care of. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian and Variety. They are doing it. What of the others? In India, picture is very bad, very bad. In Bengal, I can tell you how much Sila can write in his Anand Bazaar. How much space he will be given. I doubt very much. Editor will just, kick him out if he wants to do that forcefully. So there is always, hindrance, impediment to write according to perception of film discourse. So this is my point of view, and I share some of their views. And I have got nothing to do with the Oscars. Oscar winners have their good networking, Academy Award winners have their good distribution and exhibition network. So you don't bother about them at all.
Thank you, Pradipda. Thank you, all of you. And we are going to finish the session. Okay? Yes, sir.
നാളത്തെ ചർച്ച മാറുന്ന മലയാള സിനിമ പരിസരമാണ്. ശ്യാം പ്രസാദ്, പ്രിയനന്ദനൻ, മനോജ് കാണ, സന്തോഷ് ബാബു സേനൻ, ബീന പോൾ, ശോഭ ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണൻ, VK ജോസഫ്, ചെറിയാൻ ജോസഫ്. പ്രോഗ്രാം കോർഡിനേറ്റർ ആരെങ്കിലും സംസാരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. അല്ല, സംസാരിക്കാനല്ല, ഞങ്ങളിപ്പോൾ ചർച്ച വന്നു, അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ കൊടുക്കുക, മൈക്ക് കൊണ്ട് കൊടുക്കുക.